Welcome back, Reverend John David Duke Jr., pastor, Concordia Lutheran Church, Newfane, New York, alphabetical order. St. John Lutheran Church, Youngstown, New York. Beautiful Niagara County. Teaching a Hebrew. Professor at Concordia Seminary, St. Catharines, Ontario, which is in a foreign place. Let's get right to it. Syllabification, or now we're going to put the vowels and the consonants together and learn to pronounce Hebrew. A note, syllabification and accenting are far more important in Hebrew than in other languages. In other languages, accenting rules are very simple, or they're very important to professors and not really to reading the language. But in Hebrew, it's very important. So we spend a lot of time on it, and you have to practice it. Otherwise, you can't read Hebrew. So here we go. Let's get to the book, the textbook. I'm hoping that you're buying this book. I can't give you this for free, but we can look over it, fair use and stuff. Syllables. All syllables begin with a consonant. So let's stop right there and take a look at what that actually means. The first consonant in the Hebrew alphabet is the aleph. It makes no sound. It is a soft glottal stop. However, it is a consonant nonetheless, and it begins a syllable. The second letter is Beth. It begins a syllable, right? And Gimel and all the way down. They don't always all start a syllable. Sometimes they end a syllable, and it gets complications. You'll note, even right here, right away, that there are several operating rules to Hebrew. There aren't that many. We'll memorize them in short order by the end of chapter, say 3, maybe 4. Yeah, we'll have memorized all the rules that govern Hebrew. And then the rest is just like paradigms and concepts, but the rules will be in order. And the complication is when they intersect, they sort themselves. And you'll note that like they are like a computer language. If such and such a condition, then go to line 7. And a lot of it is negative logic, like if not, then C, right? If not A, then C. That's how Hebrew works an awful lot. And it works like this too. So even an aleph, which is probably behind my head, no, it's not. Even an aleph, even though it makes no sound, it is still considered a consonant. And as such, yes, it can begin a syllable. And every consonant, or every syllable, begins with a consonant and is followed by a vowel. And we'll use the comates as a kind of paradigm there. So this would be pronounced ah. And this syllable would be pronounced ba, right? And so on down the consonantal list. Okay? Let's check out the next rule. Back to the book. Syllables are either open or closed. That's rule number 2. Rule number 2 has 2 sub-rules. Sub-rule 1, A. An open syllable ends in a vowel. So let's take, for example, the word for word, and that is davar. And it starts with a nice daleth. It comates. There's your first syllable. And then it has another syllable. Like that. And there's the other syllable. Now I have a tendency to draw my annotations backwards. because we're running right to left. So this syllable on the right, da, is a consonant and a vowel. So remembering that we run Hebrew right to left and down and up. So we come in, we go down to pick up the vowel, we go up to look if there's not a vowel there, and then we come down and we go back up, making sure we pick up the vowel, and forward we go. Okay. So consonant, vowel, and then this syllable on the left would be a consonant, a vowel, and a consonant. And I'm going to get my, excuse me, allergy season. Get my writing tablet here and annotate further. This one would then be an open syllable. And this one would be a closed syllable. Okay? Open is a consonant and a vowel without another consonant. Remember that all syllables begin with a consonant. And the other syllable is a closed syllable, which begins with a consonant, has a vowel, and also has another consonant. I know you have questions. Hold your questions. And we need to add some more rules, and then the combination of rules, when they intersect each other, will begin to sort themselves, and we can, have some sort of a theorem going forward. Okay, so let's get this off the board for the next series of rules. The document screen, back to my glasses. As a general rule, pulling this one up, an open syllable will have a long vowel. A closed syllable will have a short vowel, but see accent rules below C. Aha, yes, but first we need to do B, and then we'll put it all together. Accent. The accented syllable in a multisyllable word is called the tonic syllable. Now let's take a break right here and go back to the board to do a little bit in terms of like generalities about Hebrew. Hebrew really likes triliteral roots, and I'm going to use a different word from davar. So I'm going to put davar up here just because it's a paradigm word. Davar. I'm going to use a different word, and that will become clear in just a minute. Let's take the word for to kill, which is a verb instead of a noun. Get it on the board. And it has these vowels in it. Katal is called, okay? And so we run Hebrew, again, right to left, down and then up to find our vowels, because remember the vowels are written above, below, and between the consonants because the Masoretes developed this system in order not to touch what was written, which is mostly consonants. Okay, so deep breath. Now, in the what are we looking at here? Deep breath so that the professor can remember what it was he was saying. The accented syllable is called a tonic syllable. Okay. This is of the utmost importance. We use a different kind of language when we talk about syllabification and accent in Hebrew than we do from other languages that we might be familiar with in the Indo-European traditions of languages, right? Take for example Spanish. The accent is by default on the penultimate syllable, and so you would say in Spanish the tone is the penultimate syllable by default. Okay, in Hebrew, the tone is the ultimate syllable in the word. That's the default, right? Most words are accented on the final syllable, the ultima. For now, accent marks will be used only if the accent is not on the last syllable. Now, In the Bible, there is a second, actually, there is a second system for marking syllabification and pronunciation, accenting. Cantillation marks in Psalms. So there's 3 systems of dots and dashes. You really need to concentrate most especially on the dots and dashes indicating vowels, and a handful of the accent marks, which will come later. In the book, there's only one accent mark used unless it's copy pasted from the Bible, and that is this mark here. It looks like a grave. When the accent is on the final syllable, the book will not use it because of the cost of ink. When there is an exception, the book does use this to show you that the accent is not on the last syllable. And so you would say, in this case, the tone is here on this syllable. All right, that's another set of rules. Let's get on with the rest of the rules, and then we can start making some decisions, shall we say. Go back to the document. A syllable, well, actually, I did this when I taught the class too. As a general rule, number 4, an accented syllable will have a long vowel. An unaccented syllable will have a short vowel, unless it is always open. Now remember how I said before earlier, Hebrew kind of likes to work with an if-not logic. If this is not the condition, then skip to this. Okay? That's how it likes to work. So the summary of vowels and accents in syllables: a syllable that is either open or accented will likely have a long vowel. Okay, that's a sometimes rule. Probably right. It's a good rule of thumb, but it isn't an always rule. It's kind of what Hebrew wants to do, though. A syllable that is both closed and unaccented will have a short vowel always. This is such an always rule that go ahead and get it wrong, and you'll on the rare occasion that it's not true, and you'll still make 100%. How's that possible? Well, it's new math. Anyways, it's just so. A syllable that is both closed and unaccented will have a short vowel. And this is really the rule you want to start with, because if it's not closed and unaccented, then other things will happen. Okay, see the if not logic again? So let's put it in place. We can't yet, because there's this thing called ambiguity in Hebrew. You'll get used to this, and you'll learn that Hebrew is context-driven like no other language. But the Masoretes were bothered by a certain ambiguity so much that they used a metheg. And they did this in particular for Kametz and Kametz Chatuf. Switching back over to our drawing screen. To use that example, the Barakah example, let's take a look here. I'm drawing a different color for distinction. Okay, let's get our stuff in place here. As you know from memorizing your vowel chart, this letter in particular is a problem. Now, this letter is not a problem because that is the vowel. It is a long A. There is no ambiguity. It cannot be anything else because of the mother of reading, the mater lectionis. Mater lectionis, okay? But the one circled in red is a problem because there's no mater lectionis. There's no mother to tell you what the right answer is here. And so what the Masoretes did, being disturbed themselves, which means that, okay, this is a problem with their system. And so they devised, I'm going to use a red one, they devised something called a metheg. What does the metheg indicate? That this is an open, unaccented syllable. not closed. Okay, what does that mean? Well, open and unaccented means that this is going to be a long vowel. It is a comates. It is pronounced ba. If it didn't have the metheg, then this would be a short vowel because it is closed and unaccented. Well, how do you know that? Well, because it's a short vowel. Well, what does that mean? Well, it has to be in a closed, unaccented syllable. That means it's C, V, C. Why? Because a short vowel can exist only, only. This syllable can only be short because it is closed and unaccented. Yeah, doing the logic in my head, right? If not. Yeah. So without the metheg, the Masoretes are telling you, yeah, this is a chametz chatuf, a short vowel. Therefore, this must be a closed syllable with no accent. There's no exception to it. Let's check the rules, see if I'm right. Going back a bit here. A syllable that is both closed and unaccented will always have a short vowel. Okay? That was a short vowel in an unaccented syllable. It does not meet the requirements of number 1. A syllable that is either open or accented will likely have a long vowel. Well, could an open syllable have a short vowel? No. Will an accented syllable have a short vowel? Yes, sometimes. But this one wasn't accented. See? So that's what we're doing here. Metheg. Metheg is pretty important to help you with the ambiguity. There's a little bit of math to be done, isn't there? Historical development stuff, yes. A number of exceptional rules, exceptional words violate the rules. And here's how I kind of cut the Gordian knot for you. When you see the segolate class of nouns and also verbs, but that's later, don't syllabify. Well, how do you know if it's a segolate? Well, pretty easy. You get a nice clue, and I'm going to draw up here. I'm going to have to start a new thing here. I'm running out of room. New. Don't save that. So, for example, let's take the paradigm of all segolates. Unbelievable. This collection of consonants, MLK, Melik. Well, historically speaking, this didn't used to be Melik. It used to be a monosyllable. And as he says in there were case endings and such. Well, the idea was that this was pronounced before kind of classical Hebrew came to be, during the evolution of the language. You had this pronunciation, malk, ... for your case endings. But it was malk. It was a monosyllable. So my rule of thumb, a kind of mnemonic device, this isn't like some sort of grammatical rule, just for the sake of completeness. It's a way of understanding that this word and segolates in general are actually monosyllabic words that are pretending to be polysyllabic. Okay, they are one-syllable words pretending to have 2 syllables. And you get a nice little clue that you're dealing with this when you get a segol in this, where this would be a second syllable, right? Toward the end, in other words, you start the back, and you're gonna see consistently a segol here. That's what makes it a segol, segolate. But in the case of malk, it evolved to become melik with an accent at this front end here, and you can kind of hear the old word malk transformed into a 2-syllable word, but it still sounds kind of monosyllabic. It's melik. right? It's not melech. You didn't go asking for, where's your melech? You went and asked for your melech. I need to meet the melech of your village here, the king of your city, okay? So that's melech. And there are three paradigm ones. And you'll see king is a kind of important word that's sort of integral to existence. There's another one that is the paradigm, and I'll explain what I mean by paradigm in just a second. There's a sigol in the place where the second syllable would be, and the accent is moved forward. Boker, which means morning. And when you get to your vocab, you'll notice that like the main words for periods of the day and night are all segolets. And it just seems like, well, okay, I get it. Those are sort of important words for like everyday sort of living. King, morning, evening, night, and even the word for day is monosyllabic, but it's like just two consonants, yom, about which there is much contention, but this is just Hebrew. And then the third one is, and during the class I wrote this on my under my head, so I got to move it over here. This is the other one, the other paradigm word, and you get your sigol here where you're expecting it in the second syllable now, and an accent. Safer. And this one over here is boker, and this is a good example for us here. You go down and up, and you look for the vowel, and there it is. And you go down and up looking for the vowel, right? And forward. Understanding that you're picking this up on the way over. It could be drawn further over, but don't worry about that. Now, why are these called paradigm? Well, you'll notice something that you can't see in the first one. The first one is your A-class vowels. And in the course of things, they became sigols. Why? I don't know. I don't understand. There is no way to understand it. You can do etymological studies all you want. Don't bother. Just induce it. Put your book over your face when you fall asleep, and the notion that the malk turns into a sigol will seep into your brain, and you will achieve happiness that way. If you try to understand it, you'll go berserk. This one is pronounced boker. Change to black here. Boker. And I'm going to write it in cursive. Bacher. I'm going to leave that E off for consistency. Boker. Okay. There's your O class. And then your EI class will pronounce safer. And remember, this is broad brush stuff. And not entirely. This is leaky, as we looked at the introduction. Don't worry about it too much. But I'm just trying to help you for mnemonic purposes, helping you later on. You'll see a lot of this, and it'll help you. That one is not right, actually. Safer is actually cipher. Yeah, cipher. This is your EI class, right? So what I'm trying to get across to you finally is that the segolets each have their own class. So malk goes to a segol in the first syllable. Boker goes to an O. Cipher goes to an A sound, an EI sound, right? And these kinds of words. Oh, by the way, safer is the word for scroll or book. So you can kind of see, oh, these are words that are going to endure because of their status in a language. They're not going to evolve. Like mother, father, brother. Those are also words that are going to just sort of stick around unchanged. And so they're going to be sort of violators of the rules of classical Hebrew, which is what we're learning, okay? Where's my mouse? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. I wonder if I just did this without even switching over. Nope, I did. Oh, I put cipher behind my head. Here, take a look real quick. That's what I wrote. Good enough. Now we're on to the next thing. And while I do that, I'm going to take opportunity here. No, don't save that. Okay, getting closer now. Oh, saglets, man. They are very important to know as violators of the rules that you just learned. Don't syllabify them. Recognize them as polysyllabic words that are actually monosyllabic. Okay, that'll help. There are two dogeshes. What's a dogesh? Well, it's a dot. What is a dogesh? Well, the first one's a lena. You already know that one. I made you memorize it. Bagad Kapat letters, the B, G, D, that they have a soft and a hard pronunciation. There's a rule governing when they're hard and soft. We're not going to do that today. But there is this other dogesh called a forte. Now, why wouldn't the Masoretes develop a second dot? Because the dogesh forte is doing something completely different. It has nothing to do with pronunciation. It has everything to do with spelling. Why didn't they figure out a different mark? Get in a time machine and you go argue with them hard-headed Masoretes and make them figure out a different mark. But they made a dot, and they're two dots. And you got to distinguish between the two dots. One of them is just hard, soft pronunciation sound. The dogesh forte, doubled letter. So let me show you what this paragraph is actually trying to do here. Switch over to the drawing screen. So you take the one he gave you, kid tail. And what he's saying is, how do you syllabify this? Well, here's a problem, right? So we're syllabifying, beginning to syllabify, and we see here a short vowel. Well, it's not accented because the accent is here. All right, so this should be, short vowel should be in a consonant, a vowel, consonant, syllable, right? Short vowel, unaccented. That would be the Q, or the kof, and the tet. Well, what? Oh, geez. All syllables begin with a consonant. How do we do this? Oh, you have to redraw, rewrite, Kitail to understand that this is a perfect example of if not. Is Kitail, is this tet a Bagad Kapat letter? No. If not, then it is a dogesh forte. Stop right there. What is a dogesh forte? Doubled letter. What is a dogesh forte doing? What is it doing? It's saving ink, right? Well, it's hiding a closed syllable with a silent schwa. Don't worry about what that is yet. And begins another syllable with the second letter. See how wonderfully devised these rules are? Yes, that's cheating. You make a system and try to convince everybody who reads Hebrew that yours is the best. Right? And so now you have, try to not write in red so often here. So now you do have this try color that stands out, green. So now you do have a color, a short vowel that actually can exist in a consonant, vowel, consonant environment, unaccented, the accent's here. And now you have this thing, which is a silent schwa. Don't worry about that silent. Remember I told you, though, schwas are half syllables, half vowels. They don't count in all this stuff. Don't worry about it, but just sort of like make some notes. Oh, that silent schwa thing, huh? There must be a vocal schwa, huh? Yeah, there is. We're coming to it. Tail, right? The last syllable is accented, and it has a long vowel in it, but that doesn't matter because it's accented, so the rule is sort of thrown out. It's an if-not thing, right? If it's not unaccented, which is a double negative, have fun. If it's not unaccented, then it can be long, and it doesn't matter. Then it's still a closed syllable with a long vowel in it because it's accented. You can slow that down to 0.25%, or actually 25% speed, and listen to me say that over and over again until you finally understand what it was I just said. Practice. Repetition. Okay? Oh, but what about a doggish forte and a Bagad letter? Well, you work it out the same way. It's actually both. And that's what that's saying. But we haven't really learned it yet. So it's just a matter. I'm going to scroll back. I want to see. I had this sudden panic that I forgot to teach you something for those students who are reviewing this, like this there. Okay, vocal schwa. There. I did forget to teach you something. I skipped it. This vocal schwa, silent schwa business. I'm teaching it to you now. It is an inarticulate vowel sound. It's right. It's a silent schwa. It follows no sound, no vocalized sound anyway. So you have something that follows a consonant, which is no sound. You're going to have a closed, unaccented syllable, closing with a schwa to hold a spot between it and the next consonant. Why did they do that? I don't know. Okay? And that helps with understanding the Baraka problem on page 9. It's one of those things where if you spend a lot of time teaching it, you're basically taking away time from you to repeat it over and over again. And you'll refer to this as we go along. And we'll do this in exercise time. Okay? What about this silent schwa? Well, remember, it's closing a syllable because it's following no sound. What about the vocal schwa? Yeah, it's a inarticulate vowel sound. Have fun with it. Then there's the furtive patak. Furtive patak usually appears before a final guttural. I'll skip to the end. We'll come back later. Furtive pataks are troublesome because they aren't anything. And so they're written out for you to pronounce, but they don't do anything syllabifying, right? Well, what's the deal here? Why do we have the furtive patak? Well, gutturals like A vowels. You see? They just like it. They'll take a sagol or other vowels. They just don't like to. It's kind of like the movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. 50s movie, right? So it's got all sorts of cultural problematicals. Gentlemen prefer blondes, but they'll take a brunette. I don't know. Guttural letters prefer A vowels, but they'll take anything, right? So what happens is they just want A's. What's going on with the guttural anyway? Well, they're guttural, and so they don't do stuff that other letters do. They don't double. No, see, I'm working my way backwards to forwards. They don't double. They'll never have a doggish forte. And in this regard, resh, that's why it's in parentheses. Here's the why it's in parentheses. This is the rule it obeys. It's a guttural. It will not double. So they'll take the composite schwa instead of the vocal schwa. Okay. And I skipped over this mapik thing. I have my reasons. The mapik thing is another kind of a dot. Why couldn't they come up with more marks? I don't know. I think there's another dot yet to go. Yeah. No. I've forgotten. The mapik is another dot. It marks a hey that is used as a consonant instead of a moderate letter. See, sometimes words that end in hey aren't a vowel. And boy, you want to talk about confusion. So the Masoretes said, we need to put a dot in these heys that are consonants and not vowels. And that's examples 11 and 12. All right? So what you should do is complete drill 3, which will really hammer all these rules and how they sort. Understanding that I didn't emphasize enough the schwa problem, vocal and silent. There's a reason behind that more than just I forgot. It's that we'll work on it in the exercises and really work it out. I mean, you want to talk about exercising it. We're talking about turning your brain into taffy in a Frankenmuth candy shop. If you don't know where Frankenmuth, Michigan is, there's something wrong with you. Or the Wisconsin Dells. We're going to work this and work this and work this and work this. And you'll know what a vocal schwa is before I'm done with you, okay? So the next time I come on, we're going to do a little bit of the drills, especially some of the things that are problematical or cause problems, I guess. Not socially problematical Hebrew words. This one needs to be canceled. A lot of them need to be canceled, but for different reasons. We'll work these out, and I really encourage you, about half of the time that you work on studying Hebrew, you should study your vocab. And here's something, I'm kind of old-fashioned this way. Don't get a program on your phone to do your vocab on, flashcards. Don't buy a box of flashcards. Buy or create your own flashcard system. Use index cards, cut them up. Spend time on them. Why? Why would you want to waste time on creating a vocab card? Here's why. Because it's more deliberate effort at learning these words and how to write them, how to pronounce them, work it out, right? So you're going to write aleph, kamates, beith, or if you do it like I do, you write the consonants first and then the vowels. And you're going to say to you, aleph, beith with the kamates, that's father of. Ish, man or husband. Eretz is earth. Oh, look, it's a segalit. Sun, another monosyllabic word. Boker is morning. Right, I told you that one. Davar, word, matter, thing. Very polyvalent word. Causes all sorts of difficulties. That's polyvalency for you. Yom, monosyllabic word for day. Again, a word that's just going to keep going and going through the language, never changing. Thousands of years old word. Lila, there it is again. That one's monosyllabic, but it's polysyllabic. It's polysyllabic because it's feminine. Is it feminine? Layloth, laylim. Oh man, what does it say beside it? Masculine. I'm just going to leave that mistake there so that you understand that, mistakes can be made and you can learn from the professor's mistakes and move on. Oh, it's got a big M there. What does that M stand for? Meat? It's masculine. I said masculine. There's a reason why I made that mistake, but I'm not going to pretend like I didn't make a mistake. King, Melech, Mishpat, justice, judgment. Na'ar, oh, that's a segalit, but where's the E vowel, the segel under the ayin in the second syllable? Oh, remember our gutturals prefer A's. Doggone it. Safer, Evid, you should learn that as slave, but if you can, distinguish between slavery in general as a human being owning another human being and what was in the American South chattel slavery. They're a little bit different. Servant, I feel like the connotations kind of work against us the other way because of the liberation of society from class. You always had a servant class. And now if you have a servant, it's because you're rich and you can afford to pay somebody. A servant is someone who is paid to do work. A slave is forced to do work. At the same time, in the Bible, you have the slave as something that can be quite noble because you've been rescued from poverty and put into the king's household and so on and so forth. It is not a defense of chattel slavery, but it is to help understand, make these distinctions, right? That slavery is something, it exists, and it has connotations in the Bible which are a little different. I wouldn't say that we should have slavery. That's a very important clarification. But I think we need to distinguish slave from servant, and then slave again from slave, chattel slave, a subhuman, right? Erev is evening. Again, another kind of a word that's going to exist without changing, evolving. And then Torah. If you're training to be a pastor, you might want to learn Torah as Torah, because Torah refers to the referent of Torah is rarely law in and of itself. It's usually instruction, right? And if you just learn to translate Torah as Torah, in a Bible study, you can condition those people in a Bible study that this is the whole counsel of God. If you're in a sermon, not so much. You've only got 10 minutes and you don't want to waste time explaining the real meaning of Torah, right? Okay, so take some of my errors to heart and understand that mistakes happen. Also, some of the emphasis and de-emphases, take those to heart and work on it. Have fun. Build a love for Hebrew, I hope, with this work. And we'll do a few exercises and continue with chapter 2 the next time I see you. Thanks for stopping by.